The Dharma is vast and subtle. We now have a chance to hear it, study it, and practice it. We vow to realize its true meaning. I really like to thank my Dharma sister, Jan Shepherd, for the wonderful teaching that she gave to me. Because when asked, how did this practice change me as a person, I dropped the ball and she picked it up. And in truth, this way has been my life since before I even knew of it. And it has profoundly, intimately, and deeply changed every moment of this life. I have no idea where I would have been if I hadn't walked into that big tent in Vermont in the year 2000 and saw the sign that Thich Nhat Hanh Sangha had put up that said, "Welcome home." And my wife Susan and I, and she's the one that got me there, both immediately burst into tears. Jan also came up with the theme for this retreat, harmony. And she mentioned three qualities I don't think I had heard before about teaching, that we are to urge and to inspire and to support. Is that about right? Rouse. I've already changed it. So harmony, I would say, is 1/3 body, 1/3 breath, 1/3 mind, 1/3 silence, 1/3 spaciousness, 2/3 mindfulness, and 3/4 smiling. I would like to take a poll. And this is something that we've wondered about, but no one's ever done this. Also for Zoom, if they could vote. For all of you who identify as Buddhists, raise your hand. Some came up late, some zipped up, some went up slowly. And what do we have on Zoom? I'm sorry? A large handful. So many of us do not identify as Buddhists. So maybe we're Buddhist adjacent or Thai curious, maybe. But what we all are is we're all meditators. Even if we weren't before we came on Friday, we are now. We're all meditators. And so the question is why? Why do you meditate? What is your reason? I'll give you a few textbook reasons. Very ancient reasons, and even up until this day, reasons to meditate be to escape from samsara, avoid future lives in the hell realms and opt for a better rebirth so that eventually we can escape this merry-go-round of suffering. That would be probably the most common reason that would be given. But since these practices have come to the West, we've got lots more reasons. You know, oh, you're anxious? Well, why don't you try mindfulness meditation? Are you feeling depressed? Are you dealing with physical pain? Is there emotional trauma in your life? Are you undergoing relationship issues that are difficult? Did you just undergo a divorce? Did someone close to you die? So many people come to these ancient practices for different reasons. It might be like the monarch butterflies. The monarch butterflies take 3 generations to make a single circuit from South America all the way up into Canada and back down. This is what they do. They migrate, those little wings, millions of them. I've seen them. And they rest in different places along the way. And it takes 3 generations to make the circuit. So they never finish. They lay eggs and die, and then the next ones come and continue. And they're just part of this natural cycle that doesn't end. I was looking at an old scrapbook of myself, my family. And when I was 4 years old, I went to what they called nursery school. And my teacher had written a note to my parents about me. I was 4. And the story was, Stephen was watching a girl, Alice, painting. And he said to her, "What are you making, Alice?" And Alice said, "I don't know." And Stephen said, "You don't know what it is yet?" Maybe we don't know what it is yet. Maybe we don't know enough, but we're still painting diligently, making mistakes and painting over them, wondering what it's going to be. So some people say they meditate to seek refuge. This is actually taught that meditation is a refuge from this world of suffering and delusion. When we can go into ourselves and find a place of peace that we can then carry into this world. And that's pretty good, I think. I would say, though, that once we have that refuge, let's let go of thinking of that as a refuge and look at that as a doorway deeper into the world, into the deep world, into the wisdom mind, into the mind of love, into our deep interconnectedness with all that is, which is the real world. Not escaping this world of degradation and confusion and pain and the 10,000 joys and the 10,000 sorrows, and finding a place to hide, to escape. That's useful. If you're on a long trip, you have to stop and rest, put gas in the car, get something to eat, and that's valid. But the big picture, I think, is that it is a doorway deeper into the real world. So, what is Buddha? Buddha is often depicted as this high being sitting on a lotus throne, maybe atop a mountain. And our aspiration as a follower is to laboriously climb through the fog to be able to sit next to the Buddha. And that this is a step by step by step process of practicing again and again and again and ascending the heights to sit next to the Buddha. Another way the Buddha has been depicted is residing within. That the Buddha is our true nature, and we don't have to go anywhere. We just have to uncover this deep Buddha nature and let it shine. So the first is a path step by step of reaching enlightenment. The other is a non-path of letting go again and again and again and again until there's nothing else to let go and there's nobody to let go of it. And there are different practices for these different paths. One set of practices, which would be more in the Zen tradition, which would be shikantaza, just sitting. If you go to a Zen center for a retreat and you want to have meditation instruction, a very nice priest will take you into a nice room and show you how to sit upright and how to hold your hands and how to arrange your cushions and to look down, not close your eyes and look down. And that's it. Those are the full instructions. And then you do it through hell and high water. But you do it with the presence of a teacher. And you do it in the container of the practice center. And you do it with the teachings of the Dharma. And maybe you do it with koans or not. So you're left to your own devices sitting, but you're supported. There's a system for supporting. And eventually, enough conditioning drops away and this light appears. This light of awareness dawns. And there's the Buddha. Not in front of you, in you. You are. And then it fades away and you have to blow your nose and walk outside and do those things. And the first path involves the Anapanasati Sutta, with the 16 different ways that we practice with the body. The Satipatthana Sutta, where we go through the 4 foundations of mindfulness and we meditate in specific ways to attain different stages of awakening. And slowly, step by step by step, the mind begins to open and the heart begins to open. And we're sitting next to the Buddha. This can be confusing. I've heard this from many people on this retreat. How am I supposed to practice? Now, if this were a long time ago and we lived in a village somewhere and there was one temple and one teacher and a few monastics, they would teach us, here's how you practice. Here's how you meditate. Here's what you do. And we would do that, particularly if we were monastics. That's what we would do. There would be no question. But we're at Holy Wisdom Monastery at a Thaypassana retreat. We're at a Catholic retreat center doing Vipassana and Zen meditation all together, many of us not even Buddhists. This is different. So I think I can speak for my friends, my other teachers. We're not here to get you to emulate us. God forbid. We're here to support you. This is the way the Dharma unfolds. Through you. You're bumping around in the dark, feeling your way, feeling lost, finding your way. This works, maybe this works, that does. This is the path. We are the path. So we're giving you teachings and practices, ways to meditate, ways to be, and it's up to you to find out how you're going to put this together on your path, because you are the carrier of the Dharma. You and you alone can determine how the Dharma unfolds in this world. And we're looking to you and being inspired by you to see how this is done now, at this time, in this place, in the world that we now live in. How do we do this? How do we carry these traditions into this world and into the future? So, talking a little bit about the mind and mindfulness, you know, the mind really gets beat up a lot. It's referred to as a monkey, as a puppy, as a wild elephant that's dangerous, as a horse that's running out of control, as a toddler who's crying, as a friend, as our little sister, someone we're responsible for, our servant. You know, there's practices in Qigong that Rosebud teaches called smiling to the organs, which is where you sit and you envision this smile and you bring this smile to your face and you breathe in and you smile to your heart and you smile to your lungs and you smile to your liver, you smile to your organs in gratitude. Think about the heart. We don't spend much energy thinking about this. It's unbelievable what it does. It's astonishing. Or the stomach. We eat the food and then we let it do its thing because it knows what it's doing, doesn't it? All these organs know what they're doing. We don't know what they're doing. We wouldn't know how to digest a peach, no matter how many books we read about how to do it. They're awesome. The body is awesome. The mind is awesome. People come to meditate and they say, I can't do this. My mind is driving me crazy. Everyone knows this, right? And most people just stop. I'm not going to deal with this. Because they think that they're their mind. They take it personal. Praise your mind. Be grateful for your brilliant, amazing mind that can figure all these things out. That will research anything you want if you just ask it to. Let me remember what it was like when I was 25. The mind will do it for you. It's incredible. Praise your mind. Watch your mind. Because when we do that, we're taking the role of mindfulness. The one who is observing, praising, understanding the mind, that one is bigger than the mind. It's the same one that's praising the stomach, the spleen. The same one that notices the body, notices the mind. So it's not the mind. It's bigger than the mind. It's none other than awakened mind. It's mindfulness. It's awareness, whatever you want to call it. And it is here 24/7 and has always been there. It's the one who, when you look in the mirror and you see this really old person looking back at you, it's the one that's surprised. Who is that? Because it's timeless. It doesn't age. It was here before we took birth. Long before. And it's inhabiting all these bodies right now. But it's only renting. It's been many before this one. And many to come. This is our big mind, our wisdom mind, the mind of love, bodhicitta. This is Buddha nature. It's not far away. It's who we are. And when that appears and arises, now we're in the deep world, the real world. The real world. So many of us are familiar with all these mindfulness. You can go anywhere and they'll teach you mindfulness. You can go to a hospital, you can go to a school, you can go to a corporation, you can go to a basketball team, you can go to a prison. They'll teach you mindfulness, right? And what they'll teach you is when your mind starts running and you feel it in your body and you notice it, come back to your breath. And just keep doing that. Mindfulness meditation. It's more to it than that, of course, but that's the basic teaching. So I want to read to you what the Buddha said about this. The Buddha was talking to a practitioner named Arita. And the Buddha said, how do you practice mindfulness of breathing? Arita answered, I breathe in mindfully and breathe out mindfully. The Buddha then detailed how mindfulness of breathing is brought to its culmination. The Buddha instructs him to sit down cross-legged and body erect and use the breath as a vehicle to concentrate on a succession of 16 different objects of attention. The anapanasati includes the whole body, different mind states, calming the mind, concentrating, liberating the mind, and so on, step by step by step. Okay? Now, this is a little bit beyond mindfulness of breathing, right? Now, in the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the Buddha says, practice in this way. Speaking about a monk. Breathing in long, she knows I am breathing in long. Breathing out long, he knows I am breathing out long. A breathing in short, she knows I am breathing in short. Breathing out short, he knows I am breathing out short. Okay, everyone knows this. He goes on, the same applies to walking, standing, sitting, lying down. One is to act with full awareness, going forward, returning, looking ahead, looking away, flexing and extending the limbs, wearing robes, carrying robe and bowl, eating, drinking, tasting, defecating, urinating, walking, standing, sitting, falling asleep, waking up, talking, keeping silent, and there was probably more. Mindfulness every moment is what we're talking about here. I remember being in Plum Village, and the nuns there, the Buddhist nuns, were entertaining some guests. They had a contingent, maybe you remember this, Mary, because you were there with us. They were entertaining a contingent of Catholic nuns. And they got to talk with them and asked what their practice is. And the Catholic nuns said, we pray and have faith in God. And Thich Nhat Hanh's nuns were just distraught. They said, we have to practice mindfulness of everything, every moment of every day, and all you have to do is have faith in God and pray. Do you remember this? Yeah. This is why it's the path of awakening. This is why it's a wisdom tradition, not a faith tradition. Not to say that there isn't faith, because there is, but this is the path of awakening. And awakening, as David alluded to, every moment. Whoa, is that possible? Yeah, it's possible. How do we maintain full awareness in every moment? Like, what are the upayas? What are the skillful means for doing that? So one thing meditation is it's not the running mind. You know what I mean? The running mind, where the mind just runs off on its own. Tripping out, they call it. That's not meditation. Okay, I think we can agree on that. So one way to guide practice is by using the inner voice. Okay, so everyone has an inner voice. Maybe you have a whole basket of them, but those are just different aspects of one voice. Okay, and we can use our inner voice to direct our attention when we're meditating and when we're in the world. Okay, so I'll give you an example. There's a practice called noting, N-O-T-I-N-G, noting. You probably know this as a meditation practice where you're sitting and when a memory comes up, you say to yourself, memory. And when planning comes up, you say, planning. This is fine. I think the Buddha was referring to noting every moment as a skillful means. So by this I mean, I'm reaching for the doorknob. I'm grasping the doorknob. I'm turning the doorknob. I'm opening the door. I'm looking in the room. I'm stepping with my left foot. I'm stepping with my right foot. I'm narrating every moment. And what's happening is I'm strengthening my inner voice and I'm completely disempowering running mind. There's no way the mind can run when we're doing that practice. And the reason I wanted to give my talk today rather than tomorrow, which is when I always usually give it, is so that you can try this. And one of my students in prison does this all day on Saturday. He does it all day. Every single movement he narrates to himself. He's strengthening that inner voice. He's strengthening his mindfulness, and he's completely disempowering running mind. The mind just goes quiet. Okay, so I'm encouraging you to try that. We're taught, I know I'm breathing in and I know that I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out and I know that I'm breathing out. What does that mean? But we can do that with every moment, particularly if you notice you're acting habitually. I know the way to the dining hall. I'm just going to walk over there. And from here to there, you're gone. You're just acting out of habit. And so what this practice does is it takes things that are habitual, like I'm brushing my teeth, and now we're doing what the Buddha said. We're doing this mindfully. We're narrating our practice because we can brush our teeth and our mind is somewhere gone, right? But we can focus it on there. So I've been using this practice and found it very beneficial and wanted to mention it to you. Now, obviously, we're not going to live our lives like that. The inner voice has a volume adjustment. Okay, so what I'm talking about is when it's turned up, and I'm conscious right now of doing this. This is my practice. But we can slowly turn it down and eventually become silent. And that's when we go into what we call the flow state. The flow state, you've been in the flow state. I know you've run marathons. So that's the flow. That's the definition of the flow state. We can be in the flow state. I was talking with a man who plays basketball. When you're in the flow state, he says, the basket looks huge. There's no way you can miss. No way you can. And so he's not doing that narrating, I am bouncing the ball. That's not what he's doing. He goes into the flow and the inner voice is silent. Right. And that's what happens in meditation. Practicing and learning meditation is really no different from practicing and learning piano or running the high hurdles or any other skill. Eventually, it will dissolve into a flow state that we already know about. because everyone's been in this, right? That's when time kind of does this thing where it opens up. And we're present, we're awake, and there's just this flow, and it's familiar. Okay? So that's the state evoked with the shikantaza, with the Zen, with the uncovering, with the letting go, letting go, letting go. And pretty soon, there's this flow state. And it's the same state that's arrived at step by step by step, doing these practices, constructing this awakened being. It's the same. It arrives at the same place. And this is natural because one of the 5 definitions of Dharma is natural law or natural nature, natural arisings, all phenomena, right? And we just think about birth. We're born, and what do? Step by step, we learn. We learn to crawl, we learn to talk, we learn to walk, we learn to run, we go to school, we learn who we are. We're building a person. And then we find that life isn't everything we hoped it might be, or something happens, or our curiosity gets the better of us. And we move on to the path where we can deconstruct all of that. So that rather than constructing this being, we deconstruct. And we're not babies again. We still have all that. But we've let go again and again of all the conditioning that we needed when we were born, until the final letting go is our death. And I think those are the origins of these practices. There's birth, there's this construction, there's this moment, and then there's this deconstruction. Then there's the letting go. And those are all part of the same path. So what should I do? How should I practice? Should I do this meditation or that meditation? How do I do it right? And we're all in this basket. We're all here in this basket. Cars are going by. People are watching TV. People are working. Well, we're here. We're all in this basket together, moving along this ancient path. And so all these practices, whether they're Theravadan practices or Vajrayana practices or Zen practices or Taoist practice, they're all in the basket, okay? If you really want to follow one path distinctly and discreetly, that's fine. Then find a way to do that. Find a place to do that. But in this environment, the Thaypassana retreat, we're exposing ourselves and exploring many different skillful means. So we're kind of all bumbling along together. And the important word there is together. That's how we're moving this ahead. Whatever questions you've had, whatever impediments you've had in your practice, whatever elation you've felt, whatever mind states, it's common to everyone, right? Well, let me do a time check here. Okay. You maybe know Jack Cornfield's analogy. He says it's better, if you're digging a well, it's better to dig one deep hole than to dig 15 shallow ones. That's okay. That's true. What's also true is we're digging one hole with 15 different tools. That works too. Why do we want to be present with the doorknob or with this step or with that snow-covered tree? Because when we slow down enough, there's an instant re-wondering of the world. I've walked down this path, this same sidewalk with my dog 100 times, but I never really looked at that tree. That's what this kind of mindfulness practice does. Instead of just things being habitual and mindless, suddenly they're really special. This doorknob, this door, this moment, everything opens up. And that's living our lives with awareness. It's what the Buddha's talking about. Carry your bowl. I know I am carrying my bowl. I carried it yesterday. I've carried it 1,000 times, but never like this. This is all an incredible mystery. And we can touch into that if we just give ourselves the space to be with it, to be in it. And that applies to being with other people. Without the reactivity. Thich Nhat Hanh is famous for saying, when you wake up in the morning, turn to your spouse, your partner, who you've slept in this bed with for years, turn to them and say, and who are you today, my dear? And we can do that every moment. Another practice like that is smiling. And by that I mean, if you're sitting and you have your meditation posture and you're sitting in your practice, if you smile, that takes concentration, a little bit. Takes a little energy to maintain the smile. It's like maintaining the posture. It takes awareness, it takes consciousness to maintain a smile. And that's less mind available for running because it's in the smile now. And the smile is communicating to you, things must be okay. And that makes the smile more. So even if you're all alone, especially if you're all alone, the smile is a mindfulness practice. Okay. I want to touch on some questions that have come up here. There's great harmony in the world. There's great harmony. We know there's subatomic particles and atoms and molecules, compounds, cells, living things, organs in the body, a body, a collection of bodies in a society. ecosystem, a world. These are all like nesting baskets. This is very harmonious. And this is through evolution, this is how it's appeared here on this planet. It's very ordered. And so we consider a cell in the body. Say it's a white blood cell, and it's floating around, and its job is to protect the body from disease. And it's doing its job. It knows what to do. It has consciousness. But what does it know about the body? What does it know about the person? What does it know about eggplant or stars? It only knows its little bit, and it does a great job. Now, one of those cells might be called Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he speculates that there is a whole universe out there called the body. And not only that, there are other ones. I mean, this is amazing thinking for a cell. And it's useful to remember that we're like those cells. We're conscious. Don't nobody tell me I'm not, right? I'm a cell. I know what to do. I have a job, got a name. What do I know about the big body? What do I know about the big reality that I find myself in? Maybe we know as little about the Dharma that is about all phenomena. Maybe we know as little about that as the cell knows about the body. It's likely. So these paths of awakening must lead into the mystery. Because if they reach an answer, it's not it. They must reach beyond the mind, beyond the ability of the mind to think and conceive, and point to something much, much bigger that we can't name and we can't know. We can feel, we can resonate with. A good friend of mine calls this presence. Just this presence. This space of awareness. Not even space, just boundlessness. If it points toward that, it points toward love. Because we can't reach these spaces without love and connection and compassion for the suffering on this planet. Otherwise, we're turning our backs on everything and we're saying, I'm out of here. So long, good luck. Okay, that's not the Bodhisattva path. As David said, we need to bring everybody along. And one thing that helped me with that, my teacher, Tricia Yu, was a very wise being who passed in September. She said, everyone can be loved at the appropriate distance. Everyone can be loved. It's like a slinky. You know a slinky? I can have one end and someone here can have the other end. And someone a mile away can have the other end. Is still connected. We're still evolving. People are still evolving, societies are evolving. We're new here, folks. We're the new kids on the planet. The mountains have it figured out. The rivers have it figured out. The cranes pretty much figured it out. We haven't figured it out. We're still harming each other, harming the environment. We have these selfish tendencies which enabled our species to get out of control and have 8 billion of us. This is a tough place, this planet. It's hard to manifest kindness and love and compassion in this environment. But this is the only environment there is. The dinosaurs couldn't do it. They didn't have the brain, the brain equipment, right? The fish couldn't do it. The bears couldn't do it. We can do it. In amongst this world of suffering and confusion. This is the ideal place for awakening. If we were in Tushita heaven, if we were dwelling among the immortals, how would we wake up? We would just go to sleep. So this world with little boys falling through the ice and dying, this world with people in Gaza having their homes destroyed, this is our world. Even before we were here, there were volcanoes, earthquakes, tidal waves. Among the animals, there was disease. It's a tough place. And we're here to manifest this chi of awakening right here. And that's what we're depending on each other to do. So if the people to your left and the people to your right and behind you and in front of you and the teachers and our wonderful retreat manager, where is Maureen? We're all supporting you on your path, and we're waiting to see how you put it together for the rest of us. We're depending on you to move through this difficult planet, to move through it with some wisdom, some kindness, some love, and the occasional slip up, the mistake, the thing you shouldn't have said that you regret. All of that's part of it. It's okay. We're new here. We're the new species. And the jury's still out on us. And finally, if you find your heart breaking when you're in the presence of people in maximum security, or when you read about the people suffering, when you feel your heart breaking for people who just got a cancer diagnosis or who lost a child, you can feel that. and you can step into the middle way. We need to feel the suffering of the world so that we can have compassion and we can act on it. But we do not need to be lost in it, to be taken over by it. We need to be on the middle way so that we can be present in this world and slowly, incrementally, move along step by step until that Buddha within finds a home in us. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings everywhere be free.